Romance of Sui and Tang Dynasties Chapter 71.
Chapter 71 of the Romance of the Sui and Tang Dynasties. And before we fully jump in, I want to clarify something for you. When we say romance, we are not talking about, holding hands and long walks on the beach. And we're also not talking about a dry list of dates and battles.
Yeah.
What exactly is this source we're working with?
That is a great question to set the stage. Think of Sui Tang Nanye as a historical fiction, but really heavily grounded in reality. The major milestones, who became emperor, the years things happened, the key figures, that's all historically accurate. But the dialogue, the specific emotional beats, the behind closed doors drama, that's the novelist filling in the blanks to tell a gripping story.
Okay, so we're getting the dramatized, high-stakes version of the truth.
Exactly. Wu-zation. Fascinating figures in world history. In this text, she is referred to as Wu Karen, or later Lady Wu. We're going to trace her transformation from a nun in exile to the co-ruler of the empire. And we are going to look at the specific, often brittle steps she took to get there.
And looking at the notes here, the methods she uses, they aren't exactly diplomatic. This isn't about winning an election. This is pure survival of the fittest.
It's absolute asymmetric warfare against the existing power structure. It involves love, it involves laws, and it involves a level of brutality that is genuinely hard to wrap your head around.
Well, let's unpack this. We start in a place that's supposed to be peaceful.
Yeah.
The Ganyi Temple.
Right. It's a convent. And just to give you the context, the previous emperor died, and per the custom of the time, his concubines who didn't have children were sent there. They had to shave their heads and live out their days as nuns, praying for the soul of the departed emperor. Lady Wu is one of them.
So she's essentially in political retirement. Or actually more like life in prison, but with better scenery.
Exile is the best word for it. And the text opens with this poem describing pure scenery and clear wind, setting a mood of, spiritual reflection. It paints this picture of tranquility. But if you zoom in, the reality inside that convent is completely different.
Yeah, I'm seeing notes here about carnal desires.
It is messy. The text explicitly tells us that Lady Wu isn't exactly meditating on the Dharma. She's in a secret, clandestine relationship with a man named Feng Xiaobao. And it's not just them sneaking around. She has co-opted the entire staff. The abbess of the convent, Hua Qing, and a maid named Shaoxi are all in on it.
It sounds like a conspiracy from the very first page. But here's what gets me, this Feng Xiaobao. Is he some powerful duke? A general who can break her out?
Not at all. He's a nobody. He's a merchant type, a commoner. And that is the interesting dynamic here. Feng Xiaobao actually complains to her. He says essentially, look, I have no parents, no future, and I'm risking my head sneaking in here. He feels like he's just a pawn in a game he doesn't understand.
Which, to be fair, he kind of is.
He is. But this is where we see the first glimpse of Lady Wu's absolute confidence in her own destiny. Remember, she's a bald nun in a convent with zero political power. Yet she looks this man in the eye and makes him a startling promise.
What does she offer him?
She tells him, if you shave your head and become a monk, so we can hide this affair better, I promise that one day I will make you the abbot of the White Horse Temple.
Wait, pause. The White Horse Temple. Isn't that like the Vatican of that era?
It is the most prestigious Buddhist temple in the capital. It's a massive promise. It's like sitting in a jail cell and promising someone you'll make them the CEO of a Fortune 500 company once you get out. It implies she already knows, with 100% certainty, that she is going to get back on top.
Does he buy it?
He does. And to seal this pact, they exchange gifts. The text is very specific here, which adds a lot of weird texture to the scene. The abbess gives him a jade ruby, a scepter, symbolizing good fortune. The maid, Shaoxi, gives him a rough garment, and Lady Wu gives him a sweatshirt.
A sweatshirt, like workout gear.
Basically an intimate undergarment. It's personal, it symbolizes their physical closeness. So Feng Xiaobao agrees. He shaves his head, takes a religious name Huai, and there's this very emotional farewell scene. They're crying as he leaves the convent at dawn.
So he goes off to wait in the wings. But Lady Wu isn't waiting.
No, the gears of history are already turning. Emperor Gaozong, the son of the previous emperor, recalls her to the palace.
And this is where the rocket ship takes off. She goes back to the palace. She is named Zoe, which is a high-ranking concubine, and she wastes no time.
No time at all. The text says she was fortunate and quickly gave birth to a son and then a daughter. This solidified the emperor's favor. But the palace is a crowded place. You have the current empress, Queen Wang, and another rival, Consort Zhao.
And usually in these stories, the new girl gets bullied by the established queens, right?
Usually. But Wu plays a different game. She needs to get rid of the queen to take her spot. But you can't just, fire a queen like an employee. She needs a crime. A big one.
And this leads us to the part of the story that, honestly, you should brace yourselves. Because this is hard to read.
It's the turning point of the entire novel. The unthinkable crime. Queen Wang, trying to be friendly or perhaps just keeping up appearances, visits the nursery to play with Lady Wu's newborn daughter.
Just to clarify, the queen is alone with the baby.
She is with the baby, she plays with her, maybe holds her, and then she leaves. The text is very clear that she does nothing wrong. But moments later, Lady Wu enters the room. She checks the windows, she checks doors, she makes sure no one is watching.
I get a knot in my stomach just thinking about this.
She walks over to the cradle, takes her own daughter, and strangles her.
She kills her own baby.
She kills the baby, then she covers the body back up with the blanket, and this is the part that shows her terrifying capability, she resets her face. Emperor Gazong arrives shortly after. Lady Wu pretends to be happy, laughing and smiling, welcoming the emperor. She leads into the cradle to show off the baby.
And she uncovers the body.
She uncovers the child, finds her dead, and just bursts into shock and tears. She asks the servants, "Who was just here?" And the servants, telling the absolute truth, say, "Queen Wang was just here."
It is the perfect frame-up because it relies on the emperor's psychology.
Yeah.
He knows the queen has no children, right?
Precisely. He immediately connects the dots wrongly. He yells, "The queen has killed my daughter." He assumes it was done out of jealousy because Queen Wang had no children of her own. Lady Wu is weeping, listing the queen's crimes, and the queen has absolutely no way to prove her innocence.
Because who would suspect a mother of doing that? It's unimaginable.
It's a blind spot in human nature. It works because it breaks a biological taboo that no one thought could be broken. And that single ruthless act is the catalyst. The emperor decides right then and there, I am going to depose the queen.
But hold on. Even if the emperor is mad, there's a system, right? This is the Tang dynasty. They love their bureaucracy. He can't just rule by decree on something this massive.
You're absolutely right. And that brings us to the courtroom showdown, and it is fascinating. The emperor calls in his top ministers, the old guard. We're talking heavy hitters like Zhang Sanbuji and Chu Suliang.
So he wants their permission to swap Queen Wang for Lady Wu. How does that go down?
Not well. Chu Suliang is the main opponent.
Yeah.
And you have to give him credit for bravery here. He stands up to the emperor. He argues that the late emperor entrusted him with looking after Gaozong's family affairs. He says Queen Wang is from a noble family and is blameless.
He defends the status quo.
Vigorously. And then he takes a personal shot at Lady Wu. He reminds everyone that she served the previous emperor.
Ooh, why does that matter?
In the Confucian worldview, that makes her relationship with the current emperor technically incestuous. It's a massive breach of propriety. He's basically calling the emperor's girlfriend his stepmother.
Ouch. I assume Lady Wu didn't like hearing that.
Not at all. But Chu Suilang goes further. To show his sincerity, he places his tablet, his badge of office on the steps, takes off his hat, and knocks his head against the floor until he bleeds.
He's literally bashing his head on the floor to stop this.
Yeah.
That is intense.
It's high drama. And then we hear a voice. Lady Wu isn't in the room, but she's listening from behind a curtain. And when she sees this resistance, she just loses it. She screams out, "Why not beat this fellow to death?"
She wants him dead right there in the court.
It shows her rage, but also her influence. She is not afraid to speak over the ministers. The court is in a total deadlock. The emperor wants one thing, the ministers want another. It's a constitutional crisis.
So how do they break it?
It comes down to one man, Li Ji. It's a very respected military general. He had originally feigned illness to avoid this meeting because he knew it was going to be a disaster.
Smart guy. Stay home when the boss is firing the queen.
Exactly. But later, the emperor asks him specifically, "What should I do?" And Li Ji delivers the line that changes history. He simply says, "This is your majesty's family matter. Why ask outsiders?"
This is a family matter. That's it. That's the line.
That is the skeleton key. Think about it. If the position of Empress is a state matter, then the ministers have a say. They can veto it. But if Li Ji reframes it as a family matter, a private domestic choice, then the emperor is the patriarch of his house. He can do whatever he wants.
That is a brilliant piece of legal maneuvering. It completely sidelines the bureaucracy.
It gives the emperor the permission structure he needed. It shuts down the debate. And with that, the dam breaks. Queen Wang is out, Consort Zhao is out. Lady Wu is crowned empress.
So she wins. She's the empress. And now we get to the revenge. Because I have a feeling she isn't the type to forgive and forget.
Absolutely not. We enter what the text brutally calls the bone-drunk phase.
Bone drunk. That sounds ominous.
It is gruesome. Empress Wu orders that the deposed Queen Wang and consort Zhao be beaten with 100 strokes, but that's not enough. She orders their hands and feet to be cut off.
Alive.
Alive. And then she has them thrown into large wine vats.
My God.
Her justification, her quote in the text is, "Let the two sluts get drunk to their bones," hence bone drunk.
That's sadistic. It's not just executing your enemies, it's torturing them. Why go to that extreme?
It's performative cruelty. She wanted to send a message that no one was safe. If she can do this to a former queen, imagine what she can do to a minister who disagrees with her.
Speaking of ministers, what happened to the headbanger, Chu Suliang?
Exile. Eventually
Yeah.
dies in exile. She systematically removes anyone who opposed her.
And meanwhile, the emperor is still there, right? What is he doing while his former wife is in a wine vat?
He's physically deteriorating. The text mentions he suffers from dizziness and vision loss. He can't handle the paperwork anymore. So Empress Wu takes over the administrative duties.
And this is where they start being called the two sages.
Yes, they sit together in the palace. She is effectively the co-ruler. She reads the memorials, she directs the policy, and remember that promise she made back in the convent.
To Feng Xiaobao,
Yeah.
the guy with the sweatshirt. I assume she would have had him killed to hide her past, loose ends and all that.
That would be the typical villain move, but she doesn't. Once she has power, she appoints him as the abbot of Whitehorse Temple. She kept her word.
That is wild. She murders her child, tortures her rivals, but she honors a pinky swear with her ex-boyfriend.
It is such a strange mix of loyalty and psychopathy. It makes her feel less like a cartoon villain and more like a very specific, very complicated human being. She rewards loyalty just as fiercely as she punishes opposition.
So she's running the show. And the text gives us another glimpse into this duality. The emperor is sick. He's seeing ghosts of Wang and Zhao in the palace. Guilt is eating him alive.
Right, the palace is haunted for him. So Wu organizes a grand trip to Songshan to clear his head. A massive royal procession.
And while they're there at a temple, Wu writes a poem.
Yes. Now, usually the ministers would dismiss this as just a hobby. Oh, the Empress is writing verses, how cute. But the text tells us the emperor reads it and is genuinely shocked. He is impressed. He compares her writing to that of high-ranking scholars.
So she isn't just a beauty, and she isn't just a schemer. She's actually an intellectual.
She's the total package. Smart, ruthless, talented. And this trip also introduces a new character who becomes very important.
This is General Shu Rongui, right?
Yes. By this time, the old guard is dying out. Li Ji, the guy who made the family matter argument, has passed away. The military needs a new hero. Shu Rongui steps up. And the text describes a specific feat that has become legendary in Chinese culture.
I see it here. It says he settled the Tian Shan Mountains with 3 arrows. What does that actually mean? Did he just shoot 3 people?
It's a bit more dramatic. The story goes that he faced a massive Turkic army. He rode out alone and shot 3 arrows. Each arrow killed an opposing general or a key warrior with perfect accuracy. The rest of the enemy army was so terrified by this display of skill that they surrendered immediately.
3 arrows to settle the mountains.
Yeah.
That is a killer tagline.
It is. And so Shu Rongui comes to court to report this victory. And guess who's watching?
Let me guess. Empress Wu behind the curtain.
Exactly. She is always behind the curtain. But this time, she's not yelling for someone to be beaten to death. She's checking him out.
She likes what she sees.
She spies his majestic appearance and is very pleased. She respects competence, and she seemingly appreciates a handsome general. And to close the loop on our story today, remember Xiaoxi,
The maid. The one from the convent who gave the rough garment.
the very one, the one who helped cover up the initial affair. Empress Wu decides to reward General Xu Rongui. She gifts Yaxi to him as a wife.
Wow. It really brings the story full circle. It ties the characters from the convent right to the new power players of the empire.
It does, and it shows that despite being the sage, despite ruling the world, she still operates on these personal connections. She takes care of her own people.
Okay, so imagine this. Imagine a world where your career path is, I don't know, so slippery it feels like it's coated in ice. A world where you can be like the smartest person in the room, a literal child prodigy, and still get fired from a top government job because you wrote a joke about a chicken.
A rooster, to be very
That's rooster. But then in that same world, you can wander into a party uninvited, basically insult the host by breaking every social rule, write a poem, and boom, you're an immortal legend overnight.
It sounds completely made up, or maybe, a fever dream.
Yeah.
But that is the chaotic, high-stakes reality of the Tang Dynasty we are looking at today.
Figure out how talent really worked back then. Because you've got this genius, Wang Bo, who just cannot seem to read a room. And then on the other hand, you have Empress Wu Tana, who is just completely rewriting the rule book for how society honors women.
It is a fascinating contrast, isn't it? You have this young, flashy genius trying to navigate the court, and then an empress who's like dissecting the empire's moral code with a scalpel.
Right.
They're both kind of dealing with the same thing, really. The difference between performance, what society says you should do, and substance, what's actually real.
So let's start with the flashiness.
Yeah.
Who is this guy? Who is Wang Bo, and why is he just, hanging out with princes?
Wang Bo is a boshi, which is what the text calls him, a scholar. But he's not just any scholar. He's young, incredibly gifted, and maybe a little bit arrogant. He's serving in the manner of Prince Pei. And Prince Pei and his brother, Prince Zhu, they're your classic idle royals. They have, tons of money, zero responsibility, and they are bored out of their minds.
And when royals get bored, they don't just, play cards.
No, they get into cockfighting.
Of course they do.
It's their obsession. They're betting huge amounts of money on it, and it becomes this really serious rivalry between the two brothers. It's the main event.
So Wang Bo sees this, and he wants to fit in, right? Impress the boss.
Exactly. So he decides to write something called a shi.
A shi. Okay, the source makes a big deal about this.
Oh.
What exactly is that?
A shi is, well, it's serious business. It's a formal manifesto, a call to arms. Historically, it's the kind of document a general writes before invading another country to justify, the war.
To rally the troops and all that.
You list the crimes of the enemy, you declare that the heavens are on your side. It's heavy stuff.
And Wang Bo writes one for a rooster.
He does. It's called the Cockfighting Ji. And if you actually look at the text, it is just a masterpiece of satire. He's not just saying, my bird is better.
Right.
No, he's using all these high-level classical references. He's talking about the Mao constellation, which corresponds to the rooster in Chinese astrology. He claims the rooster can clear doubts with divination.
I was looking at the translation, and the language is so violent. He talks about helmet and claws.
Yes, he's comparing the rooster's comb to a warrior's helmet and its spurs to metal claws. He even references Zhu Ti.
Zhu Ti. Remind me who that is.
Zhu Ti was a legendary general from the Jin dynasty. The story goes he'd wake up the second he heard a rooster crow just to practice with his sword.
So Wang Bo is drawing a direct line from this barnyard animal to one of the greatest military heroes in history.
He is. And it gets even better. He calls the fight a blood battle and says the goose and duck sounds are the sounds of the panicked enemy.
Wow.
He says, if you are with us, we attack the outsiders. He's building this whole epic us versus them narrative for a game in a dirt ring.
It sounds hilarious. I mean, it's obviously a joke. He's making fun of how seriously the princes are taking this.
To him, yes, it's a joke. It's a way to flex his literary muscles. But he kind of forgot who else might read it. Emperor Gaozong gets a copy of this thing.
Oh, no. And I'm guessing the emperor did not find it funny.
Not even a little bit. You have to see it from his perspective. His sons, potential heirs, are wasting all their time gambling. And then the staffer, Wang Bo, writes a war manifesto using all this language of factionalism.
Attacking the outsider, blood battles. Yeah, I can see it.
Right. So where Wang Bo saw wit, the emperor saw what incitement?
He saw someone stirring up conflict.
Exactly. Fanning the flames between royal brothers. In a dynasty that is the absolute nightmare scenario, Gaozong accused him of failed remonstrance.
Meaning he should have been guiding them, not egging them on.
Not handing them a rhetorical machine gun, yeah.
So he gets fired.
Immediately expelled from the manor, kicked out.
Such a brutal lesson in, reading the room. He was just too talented for his own good.
The writing was so good as a war declaration, the emperor actually treated it like one.
So Wang Bo is unemployed, humiliated. He decides to go visit his dad in Hongdu, but it seems like the universe isn't quite done with him. He gets stuck at a place called Madang Mountain.
Right, he's stranded. It's a very classic literary setup, Dark night, storm on the river, the hero's at his lowest point, and then he meets him, the mysterious old man sitting on a rock.
I love this trope. If there's an old man on a rock in a Chinese legend, you have to listen to whatever he says.
Absolutely. So this old man, he has white eyebrows, a strange aura, and he asks Wang Bo why he's so down. Wang Bo explains he's trying to get to Hongdu for the Double Ninth Festival.
And the old man gives him some inside information. He says there's a huge party at a place called Tengwang Pavilion the next morning.
A high gathering, he calls it. And he tells Wang Bo, if you can write something there, it will redeem you. It'll be a work of immortality, far better than that cockfighting manifesto.
Okay, but here's the logistical problem. The source says Hongdu is 600 or 700 light-years away. That's hundreds of kilometers. The party is tomorrow morning. It's impossible.
In the natural world, yes. But the old man then reveals he's not just some guy. He says he's in charge of the water palace. He's a local river deity. And he promises Wang Bo a divine wind.
And the boatman's reaction in the source is amazing. Wang Bo gets back on the boat, tells him set sail, and suddenly this magical wind just kicks up. The boatmen are literally shouting, "Thank heaven and earth, we're moving."
And they do it. They make the journey in a single night. They arrive in Nanchang right as the sun is coming up. This whole supernatural part is important, you know. It's telling the reader that what's about to happen is destiny. The heavens want this poem to be written.
So let's set the scene at Tengwang Pavilion. This is a huge deal. You've got the governor, Yuan Jun, the commander, Yan Boyu. It's this lavish party. Music, wine, all the elites are there. But it's a setup, isn't it?
Oh, completely. Commander Yan is the host, but he has an agenda. He wants his son-in-law, a guy named Wu Zhang, to look like a literary genius.
Classic nepotism. A tale as old as time.
The son-in-law has already pre-written a preface for the occasion. He's memorized it, he's polished it, and he's ready to pretend to improvise it, to just blow the crowd away.
So when Commander Yan is passing out paper and ink, asking who wants to write something, it's a trap.
It's all performative politeness. The other guests are smart. They know the deal. They know Yan wants his son-in-law to get the spotlight, so they all say no. Oh, I'm not worthy. I couldn't possibly.
And then the paper gets to the teenager in the corner, Wang Bo.
Right. He's 14 in this version. He just grabs the brush and says, sure, I'll do it.
The audacity. I mean, the silence in that room. Commander Yan must have been furious.
Livid. The source says he actually got up and left the room, pretending he had to change. He couldn't even stand to watch this kid ruin his plan. But, you know, he was curious.
Oh, of course.
So he tells his scribes to stand behind Wang Bo and run the lines back to him as they're being written.
He wanted to hate read it in real time. He was expecting a total disaster.
He was ready to mock him.
Wow.
So the scribes start running back and forth. The first couple lines come in. Nanchang, old prefecture. Hongdu, new government.
Sounds like a little dry.
Yan just laughs, calls it a cliche. This is old news, he says. Anyone could write that.
Then Wang Bo starts describing the geography, right? Connecting 3 rivers.
And Yan goes quiet. He realizes the structure is actually perfect. It's not bad, but it's not genius yet.
And then, the moment. The scribe runs in and delivers the lines. You have to say them.
Falling mist and lonely duck fly together. Autumn water shares a color with the vast sky.
Wow. Even in translation, that's just beautiful.
It's stunning imagery. It captures this vertical movement of the mist and the bird and the horizontal blending of the water and sky. When Yan hears this, he just jumps up. He can't help himself. He shouts, "Genius! This is true talent."
He completely forgets about his son-in-law. The art just completely wins him over. He orders wine for Wang Bo.
And that's the difference between Yan and the emperor, isn't it? The emperor couldn't get past the breach of protocol. Yan was angry about it, but the sheer quality of the work just forced him to admit it.
But the drama isn't over yet. The son-in-law, Wu Zhang, is watching his big moment get hijacked, so he pulls a really desperate move. He stands up and accuses Wang Bo of plagiarism.
Plagiarism? In front of everybody?
Yes, he claims the text isn't original, that it's some old piece. And to prove it, he recites the entire thing from memory.
Wait, how could he? Wang Bo just wrote it.
Well, the implication is that he has this insane memory, where he's just bluffing his heart out. He recites it to prove, see, I know this text, therefore it must be old. The crowd is totally confused.
What a tense moment. So how does Wang Bo handle it?
He does something so much cooler than arguing. He just asks a simple question. He says, okay, if you know this old text so well, do you know the poem that comes at the end?
Ah, the mic drop.
Exactly. These prefaces are usually followed by a poem. Wu Zhang just stands there, silent. He has no idea because the poem doesn't exist yet.
So Wang Bo picks up the brush again.
And he writes the concluding poem right there on the spot. It's this meditation on time and loss. He talks about the painted pillars, the rolling clouds, and the final lines are just haunting. Where's the prince now? Only the Yangtze flows.
Meaning the people who built this place, the power they had, it's all gone. But the river is eternal.
It just stunned the entire crowd. Wu Zisang had to go sit down in shame, and Wang Bo was given 500 rolls of silk. His fame was locked in.
It's such a satisfying win. The kid who got fired for a chicken joke proves he's the greatest literary mind there.
Notice the contrast, right?
Yeah.
In the first story, he used high language for a low subject, the chicken, and he got punished. In the second, he used high language for a high subject, the pavilion, nature, and he gets rewarded. It's all about the application.
That's a great point. And speaking of application and flipping the script, we're leaving the river and going to the imperial court.
Yes, we're moving to the era of Empress Wu, or Tianhu. At this point in the source, Emperor Gaozong is in really bad shape. He's described as dizzy and basically blind.
So Empress Wu is effectively running the government. She's listening to politics from behind the curtain.
And she gets this proposal from the Ministry of Rights. They want to build these big commemorative arches. They're called fang to honor chaste widows.
Which was a fairly standard practice in traditional China, right?
Yeah.
If your husband died and you didn't remarry, or maybe you died protecting your virtue, the government would, give you a gold star.
Exactly. It was a way to reinforce social control. But Empress Wu reads this proposal, and her reaction is, well, the source says she slams her hand on the table. She's furious.
She calls it fishing for fame. What was her argument?
She just deconstructs the entire idea of the chaste martyr. She says true chastity is rare. Most of these women who are honored are either, in her words, stupid, or they're forced into it by poverty or by social pressure.
She uses that great phrase, covering one's ears to steal a bell.
Yes. It means you're just deceiving yourself. She thinks these men, the officials, are using these women as props to make their own families look good. She asks, what benefit is this to the mother?
That's a shockingly modern take. She's calling out the whole performative nature of the system, so she rejects it. No arches for widows. What does she do instead?
Longevity. She decides that instead of honoring women for suffering or for dying, she's going to honor them for living.
I love that. Hey, you survived. Here's a prize.
She issues a decree. Any woman over 80 years old gets an official title and is invited to a huge banquet at the palace.
Let's talk about that banquet. The visual must have been incredible. Hundreds of elderly women showing up at the palace.
And the source specifically notes they're wearing old court clothes. These are women who might not have been to the capital in decades. It's like a sea of living history in one room.
And a couple of celebrity guests show up.
Two big ones. Lady Ning, who is the mother of the famous General Qin Shubao. She's 105 years old.
105. In the Tang Dynasty. That's unbelievable.
And Lady Tang, the mother of another official, Zhang Jianzi, who is over 90.
And Empress Wu makes a point to speak with Qin Shubao's mother. What's that interaction like?
It's very respectful. Empress Wu praises Qin Shubao's service. She says, basically, your son and grandson served the emperor so well, and that must be because of your teaching.
So she's crediting the mother for the general's loyalty, which is politically very smart. But look at Lady Ning's response. She's humble, diplomatic. She credits the emperor's raising of her son, but she also accepts the compliment about her own role.
And all the other ladies are whispering that she looks like she's only 50 or 60.
Which, let's be honest, is probably the best compliment you can get when you're 105.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But then look what Empress Wu does. She grants Lady Ning an archway at her home. But it isn't for chastity. The inscription is Frifeng Shuanggao.
Blessing and service, both high.
Right. She's honoring the woman for her age, the blessing, and for her contribution to the state, to her son, the service.
It's a total reframe. She's celebrating the mothers of the dynasty's heroes. She's celebrating life and creation, not just the passive virtue of not remarrying.